After 12 years of arrogance, a billionaire's son discovers love where he least expected, and it changes everything. Jake Hawthorne stood in the middle of Maplewood, his father's hometown, feeling out of place. The streets were narrower than he remembered, flanked by fading storefronts that whispered stories of better days. He had zoomed past here in private jets, scoffed at the locals, and dismissed their struggles like a spoiled child brushing crumbs off his pristine table. Now, the air smelled different, like burnt coffee and hope. He shifted uneasily, glancing around. Just months ago, he was the golden boy of a tech empire, basking in the glow of corporate innovation. Now, his father's name carried the weight of failure, a merger gone wrong that shattered their legacy. Surrounding him, locals shuffled by, faces lined with resilience etched through hard work. Jake felt the weight of inadequacy pressing down on his chest, a sensation alien to him until now. At the cafe, where the laughter of children mingled with the chatter of veterans sipping their morning joe, Jake spotted her. Mary. A single mother with a warm smile and eyes that seemed to hold a universe of kindness. She chatted effortlessly with the customers, pouring coffee as if she had been cultivating camaraderie for years. How could someone so grounded exist in a world where he had worn arrogance like a suit of armor? Their first encounter took him by surprise. "You look lost," she said, wiping her hands on her apron, a flicker of concern in her voice. He laughed it off, but inside, something stirred a hint of intrigue. With her gentle ways, she unraveled parts of his demeanor, laying bare the misconceptions he had woven around himself. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Every day, Jake found himself returning to the cafe, his heart racing with anticipation. Mary spoke about her struggles with a dignity he hadn't known existed. She rallied others in the community, bringing life to the old diner and her clientele, all while juggling her child's needs. He was drawn to her depth and irony for a man who had lived atop privilege's pedestal. But the realities of Maplewood soon crashed into his idealistic fantasy. A local business, Yates Hardware, was on the verge of closing. Jake could feel the tension in the cafe, the quiet desperation as Mary mobilized a fight against corporate encroachment. Who was he, Jake wondered, to step in? He had only ever taken from people like them. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a warm glow over Maplewood, Jake found himself on the cafe's awning, heart pounding. He confessed his desire to help, his longing to build connections with the town. But as he spoke, Mary looked away, her trust untested, shadowed by scars of disappointment. Was he truly ready to shed his past facade? The future of the town and his heart were entwined, and the question echoed louder than ever in his ears: could he rise to meet the challenge, or would he slip back into the safety of his old life? The uncertainty loomed heavy, echoing the fate of Maplewood itself. Changes everything. Jake's pulse quickened. The feeling of standing on that awning, vulnerable and exposed, sent him into a spiral of self-doubt. He had spent years in boardrooms, manipulating numbers and strategies, not once considering the lives his decisions impacted. But here, under the fading light, stood Mary, her heart and spirit tied into the fabric of the community. He wanted to be part of that. He needed her to see him not as Jake Hawthorne, the billionaire's son, but as someone willing to fight for a cause greater than himself. "Mary," he said gently, taking a step closer. "I know I've come in like a whirlwind, but I'm serious about helping. I want to do something meaningful." Her brow furrowed, and he could see the hesitation in her eyes. "Jake, it's not just about wanting to help. It's about understanding the stakes. We're not talking about numbers on a spreadsheet. We're talking about homes. Families. The lives of people who've fought hard to keep this place alive." He swallowed hard. I can learn. I want to understand. Mary's expression softened. You think you can just waltz in and save us? It doesn't work that way. You need to earn trust. You will have to be here, in the trenches. He nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle around him. I can do that. This place it matters. You matter. He paused, gathering his courage. I want to be a part of it. For a fleeting moment, her guard seemed to drop, and a flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. It was as if he pierced the dense walls she built. But just as quickly, her thoughts returned, and the uncertainty crawled back into view. Jake, it's dangerous to hope. You don't know the people in this town, their resilience, and their heartache. They won't believe in you until you prove you're worth it. Then let me prove it. The fire in his chest ignited a determined resolve, solidifying his intent. I want to organize support for Yates Hardware. I can bring ideas, connections, resources. I know people who can help us spread the word. Mary crossed her arms, skepticism coloring her face. You think resources and connections are the answer? Sometimes all we need is a little faith from those around us, not just offers of help. I can show you that faith, Jake countered, wrestling with growing understanding. Let me be a part of this community. I want to stand beside you. Teach me what community means, what it means to connect beyond business. The moment stretched, silence wrapping around them. He saw her lips twitch upward for a heartbeat, the essence of a smile threatening to bloom but hesitating under the weight of constraints. It's going to be a tough road, Jake, she finally said, her voice gentler, hinting at vulnerability. You might find it harder than you think. I'm ready, he replied, determination solid in his voice. I've spent too long living behind glass walls. It's time to step outside and feel the world. They shared a moment, silence blending their aspirations. The hope between them hung palpable, alive and flickering like the streetlight starting to glow, illuminating the darkness surrounding Maplewood. But as they stood together, the tension of the impending battle loomed larger than ever. What if the townspeople, scarred by loss and betrayal, would never accept him? What if, in trying to change things for the better, he only added to their pain? The questions churned in his mind. As he and Mary stood there, the night deepened, and a chill crept into the air, fathering uncertainty. Jake took a breath, grounding himself in the moment. He had to prove that change was possible, but the path ahead felt steeper than ever. Back inside the cafe, a conversation broke out among the patrons, their whispers filling the space with doubt and determination alike. Jake could feel the stir of the approaching storm in the air, and he knew, the time to act was now. But what if, beneath all his efforts, the town still held on to its skepticism? Would they see him for who he truly was, or would he always be just the billionaire's son? Changed everything. The following morning, Jake awoke with the remnants of hope still wrapped around him. The echoes of his conversation with Mary reverberated in his mind, a steady drumbeat urging him into action. He pulled on his worn jeans and a simple t-shirt, a far cry from his usual tailored suits. It felt like armor, a way to distance himself from the title that had always shadowed him. He needed to blend in, to dissolve into the community he wanted to be a part of. Stepping outside, Maplewood greeted him with a crisp morning breeze and a vibrant sky. The town seemed alive, bustling as shopkeepers prepared for the day ahead. Each smile, each warm greeting from passers-by, pulled him in deeper, reminding him of the stakes he vowed to fight for. He made his way straight to Yates Hardware, the heart of Mary's community effort. As he entered the store, the bell chimed. The smell of fresh paint and varnish mixed with the woodsy scent of lumber. Old photographs hung on the walls, showcasing the generations who had worked hard to build this place. Jake's heart twisted. This was history, this was family, and he was stepping in to protect it. Mr. Yates, a burly man with a thick mustache, looked up from behind the counter, skepticism contorting his features. What brings you here, Jake? Mr. Yates, I want to help, Jake said earnestly. I'm not here to just write a check. I want to learn from you. I want to mobilize support for this store. The older man's brow furrowed. Help? You think you can fix years of neglect in one day? People like you come and go, but we stay. Trust isn't given, it's earned. The bite of Mr. Yates' words stung, but Jake felt himself growing stronger. I'll earn it. Just give me a chance. He noticed the way the other employees glanced at each other, uncertainty clouding their expressions. They knew the stakes. If Yates' hardware failed, the whole community felt the impact. I can host an event, a fundraiser, Jake proposed, his heart racing. Introduce this place to people who haven't seen it. Show them what you all do and what you mean to Maplewood. A silence layered the room, thick and heavy. What do you know about throwing an event? Mr. Yates finally asked, studying him closely. I know people, Jake answered, trusting his instincts. People who love this town, who might be willing to come together for a little old hardware store. Mr. Yates studied him for a long moment, the skepticism still evident in his eyes, but something shifted. Fine. We'll discuss it. But know this: if you mess with our trust, it won't be easy to reclaim. Jake nodded, understanding now what he needed to prove. He had to show Mary, Mr. Yates, and everyone else that he was serious about being part of their lives, not just their solutions. That afternoon, Jake found Mary busy organizing supplies for a community meal. He approached her with renewed confidence. Mary, I talked to Mr. Yates. I want to plan the event. I want to bring the town together. Her eyes widened, a mix of surprise and an unspoken question lingered between them. Are you sure? It's one thing to say you want to help, and another to put in the work. I've never been more sure of anything, he said, the weight of his past lifting slightly as determination settled in its place. Let me show you. Mary took a breath, and he could sense her hesitation melting away, replaced by something else: curiosity, perhaps. All right, let us see what you can do. But don't underestimate what you're getting into. As they started brainstorming, an unexpected energy crackled between them, an unguarded alliance born out of shared purpose. But just as Jake felt like he was finally on the right path, a voice broke through the buzz of excitement, chilling the atmosphere. What do you think you're doing here, Hawthorne? Jake turned slowly, tension tightening in his chest, ready to face the familiar face that stirred trouble in the shadows. It was Rick, a local troublemaker, arms crossed defiantly, a smirk plastered across his face. Everyone in town knows you're here for the wrong reasons. Jake's heart sank, the weight of Rick's words pressing down heavily as he realized the battle for acceptance was far from over. Could he really change the minds of those driven by doubt? Would they ever look beyond his family name? An ache formed in his chest as the uncertainty clawed at his resolve. Could he rise to the occasion, or would doubt drown him before he even started? Jake's pulse quickened. He had faced challenges before, but this felt different. Rick's presence was like a dark cloud hanging over him, threatening to cast a shadow over everything he was trying to build. I think I'm doing something good, Jake countered, his voice steadier than he felt. Rick stepped closer, the smirk fading from his face. Good? Or what you think is good? This is our town for a reason, Hawthorne. People like you don't just come in and change things. A knot formed in Jake's stomach. Doubt started to creep back in. Was he just a flash in the pan? He had to remind himself why he was here. I'm not trying to change everything. I just want to make a difference. Rick laughed sharply. Difference? You'll screw it up. Just like your old man. You got money, but that doesn't mean you have heart. The words hit like a blow, raw and unforgiving. A hush fell over the store as Jake felt eyes on him. Mr. Yates, the employees, even Mary, they were all watching this play out, and Jake couldn't afford to show weakness. He took a deep breath, looking each person in the eye for a moment before settling back on Rick. What if I show you all I can do? Rick waved a dismissive hand. Save it. This whole town knows your family's reputation. You're just a billionaire-esque kid playing at being a hero. In that moment, something ignited in Jake. Then let me prove you wrong. I'll put that event together, and you all will see I'm not just what you think I am. Mary's eyes flicked between them, and he caught a glimpse of hope flickering in her expression, yet Rick still held firm. You don't know what you're asking for. You can't just waltz in and expect everyone to fall in line. We'll see about that, Jake replied, his voice firm. He decided he'd rather fight than walk away defeated. As Rick turned to leave, he shot Jake one last glance, laced with derision. Good luck with that, Hawthorne. You're going to need it. The doors swung shut behind him, leaving a cloud of uncertainty in his wake. Mary stepped closer, brows furrowed. So you're really going to do it? After that? Jake nodded, something shifting inside him. Yes. I have to. For myself and for them. The two spent hours mapping out plans, ideas flowing as they worked against the clock. Mary seemed encouraged by his passion. They dreamed up games, food, and ways to incorporate local artisans to showcase the town's spirit. Each idea formed a patchwork of connection and invitation for people to come together, even if it meant confronting their biases. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jake stood quietly in the dimming light. He felt fragile yet resolute, a man caught between two worlds, his past and this new, hopeful future. But with every step he took, doubt slithered back into his mind. Would it all come together, or would Rick's words haunt him? What if the town truly never saw him as anything but a product of his father's legacy? Jake clenched his fists, determination surging. He couldn't go back now. The stakes were too high, not just for him but for everyone in Maplewood who deserved a chance for connection and support. As darkness settled, he knew tomorrow would be a new battlefield. Would he be ready to fight for it? He took one last look at the town, feeling the weight of its history around him. He wouldn't let that weight crush him. He'd use it as motivation. With a deep breath, he turned and made his way back, a storm of emotions swirling within. He was ready to face whatever came next, but would it be enough to convince them? Jake woke up the next morning feeling like the weight of the world sat squarely on his shoulders. Sunlight streamed through his window, but the warmth didn't touch him as it once had. Instead, he stared at his reflection in the mirror, wary eyes searching for confidence he didn't feel. As much as he wanted to shine bright like the rising sun, the shadows of doubt threatened to pull him back under. He brewed a cup of coffee, watching the dark liquid swirl around, mirroring his own turmoil. Today was the day he would announce the festival, a bold step towards change, but he couldn't shake off Rick's taunting words. The very thought made his stomach twist. Can't let him win, he murmured, gripping the mug tightly. The strength of his fingers gave him a little reassurance. When he arrived at the community center, people were bustling around, setting up chairs for the upcoming meeting. The air buzzed with excited chatter, but Jake could feel the tension simmering underneath. Standing before the crowd, trying to rally them behind his vision, wasn't a task he could take lightly. Mary greeted him with a warm smile. Hey! Are you ready? Her light-hearted tone pushed away some of his anxiety. Ready as I'll ever be, Jake replied, swallowing hard. The room filled up quickly, and the talking quieted down as people began to take their seats. He could pinpoint familiar faces, those who'd known him as the rich kid and the ones who had seen him stumble in his youth. With a deep breath, he stepped to the front, glancing down at his notes only briefly before meeting their eyes. Thank you all for being here, he started, voice a notch louder than he intended. I know my family name carries baggage, but I'm not here because of that. I'm here because I care about this town, about all of you. I want to put together a community festival, a day where we can celebrate what makes Maplewood special. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some looked skeptical, others intrigued. He pressed on, feeling strength build in his chest as he shared his vision: food stalls featuring local treats, games for kids, artist showcases to display local talent. As he spoke, he could see Mary's nodding encouragement and began to feel the energy in the room shift. But then he saw Rick enter, leaning casually against the back wall, arms crossed. The collective gasp from the audience told him everything he needed to know. Rick was there to undermine him. Jake's heart raced, but he couldn't let Rick intimidate him. This is about bringing us together, to remind us of our shared roots. He caught Rick's eye, willing his voice not to waver. We can create something for everyone, a chance to connect beyond what divides us. As he spoke, something clicked. He wasn't just speaking to the crowd. He was addressing the part of himself that longed for acceptance. It was liberating. Join me in making this happen. I promise you I won't disappoint. Rick smirked, and it fueled Jake's resolve even more. He finished strong, inviting questions and suggestions, genuine excitement spilling over from his heart like a tidal wave. When he wrapped up, he felt lighter. Every word had washed away some of the tension within him. But still, had he convinced them? As people started to filter out, Jake noticed Mr. Yates lingered behind with a thoughtful expression on his face. Nice pitch, Hawthorne, he said. I think you might just be onto something. But Rick's not going to give up that easily. Be ready. Jake nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and apprehension. I will. Yet, as the hall emptied, doubts crept back. Would the townsfolk rally behind him? And what would Rick do next? With a slow exhale, he stepped outside into the evening air. He had taken the first leap, but the path ahead was still fraught with challenges. Suddenly, buzz from his phone interrupted his thoughts. A message flashed across the screen, and it sent a chill down his spine. We need to talk. It's important. Jake's heart thudded. Who could it be? Was it Rick? Or someone else? Determination mixed with dread, he turned to face the horizon, ready for the tide that would inevitably come crashing down. Would he be able to ride it, or would it swallow him whole? Jake's mind raced as he stared at the phone, the message gripping him with a mix of curiosity and anxiety. There were a million possibilities flashing through his mind, each one more foreboding than the last. Who needed to talk to him now? He took a deep breath, his heart thumping loudly. Don't let it get to you, he whispered to himself. But the unease lingered like a cloud. He glanced around the quiet street, the evening air still and heavy, as if the world was holding its breath. Instead of heading home, he walked toward the park, the familiar path guiding him through the dimming light. The whisper of leaves in the breeze felt comforting against the mounting tension. This was his place of solace, where he spent countless hours as a kid, lost in his thoughts, dreaming of being someone else. As he settled on a bench, he pulled out his phone, contemplating whether to respond. But before he could make up his mind, it buzzed again. Another message. It's about the festival. Hope and dread tangled within him. Was this person on his side, or did they too doubt his plans? He typed back quickly, who is this? Then hit send, his palms sweaty with anticipation. While he waited, he tried to steady his thoughts. Despite all the chaos, he couldn't shake the excitement from his earlier presentation. The way some of the townsfolk had leaned in, whispered to each other, shared smiles, it filled him with a glimmer of hope. Yet, Rick's presence loomed large, an ominous reminder that not everyone was on board. Finally, the phone chimed again. It's Mary. Can we meet? Relief washed over him. Mary had been his confidant since childhood, she understood the stakes. Without hesitation, he replied, yes, where? Meet me at the diner. I think we need to talk strategy. The diner was only a few blocks away, and Jake felt a quickened pulse as he made his way there. The neon lights glowed against the twilight, creating a welcoming beacon. He stepped inside and spotted Mary in a booth at the back. The sight of her made his heart lift just a bit. Hey! She greeted, her smile bright enough to cut through the evening's tension. You did great today. Thanks, he replied, sliding into the booth. But what's this about strategy? I thought we were starting strong. Mary's brow furrowed slightly. We are, but Rick isn't going to sit by and let you succeed without a fight. I overheard some of the older folks talking. They still have a lot of old grudges. If he works them up, it could spiral out of control. A sinking feeling lodged in his stomach. So, what do we do? We need to draw people and get them excited enough to push back. Maybe a raffle, or some famous local band. Something that makes them feel part of it. The ideas sparked in his mind. What if we get local businesses to donate? They could promote themselves at the festival in return. Exactly. Mary beamed. We just need to sell the vision before Rick can destroy it. Jake could feel a fire igniting within him. Their conversation flooded with possibilities, each new idea lifting the weight off his shoulders, bit by bit. Hope began to take root again, twisting through the dark doubts. But the weight of Rick's threat still loomed. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something that would test him and the community he'd fought to bring together. Just as they delved deeper into strategy, the bell above the diner's door jingled, and Jake turned to see Rick stepping inside. Their eyes met, and the smirk on Rick's face sent a clear message: this fight was just beginning. Looks like our plans are no longer just about the festival, Jake muttered, heart racing. Mary followed his gaze, her expression hardening. We need to be ready for whatever he throws at us. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle again. But at that moment, he also felt a surge of resolve. He wouldn't let this chance slip away. As they plotted their next moves, Jake understood, it was no longer just about him. It was about the whole town. But he couldn't shake the nagging thought, what if he lost more than just the festival? In this fight, determined not to let fear dictate his actions, he steadied his breath. Let us show him what Maplewood is truly made of. But deep down, the thought echoed, could they really stand up to Rick, or was he about to lose everything before it even began? Jake could feel the tension in the room thicken as Rick sauntered towards the counter, his presence palpable. It was as if he brought an electric charge that made the air buzz. Mary shifted in her seat, her enthusiasm now tempered by the threat looming over them. Let us keep our voices down, Jake said, lowering their volume as if it would shield their plans. We can't let him know what we're up to. Rick leaned against the counter, seemingly casual, but the glint in his eyes told a different story. What's up, Jake? Planning your little festival again? He called out, his tone dripping with mockery. Jake clenched his jaw. Just good old Maplewood traditions, he shot back, adding as much bravado to his voice as he could muster. What do you think? You can just shove this festival down everyone's throat and expect them to swallow? Not on my watch, Rick taunted, turning to face the other diner patrons. His voice boomed, drawing attention like moths to a flame. Mary brushed her hair behind her ear, trying to keep focused. We can't engage him, Jake. It'll just give him fuel. The chatter in the diner eased as curious eyes shifted toward the unfolding drama. Jake felt the weight of their gaze, but he refused to back down. Rick, we're trying to build something here, he called, standing up. This town deserves a chance to come together, to remember what we're capable of when we unite. He glanced at the growing crowd, their faces a mixture of interest and concern. For a moment, doubt flickered in his heart. Would they support him or turn tail amid the pressure of Rick's presence? Rick chuckled dismissively, stepping closer. And what if they don't want what you're offering? What if I convince them it's a terrible idea? You think they're going to side with the outsider? Jake took a deep breath. They're not going to side with anyone. They'll side with what feels right. And right now, that's a chance to come together, to celebrate what makes us a community. Rick's smirk faltered just slightly, the tension shifting. For a moment, Jake felt the weight of the room align with him. People were nodding, engaged in what he was saying. Mary stood up next to him, her stance strong. We don't have to fear what isn't real. We're building something positive here in Maplewood even if it takes some work to change old minds. But Rick only laughed, a sound that pricked at the hope bubbling inside Jake. Change? You really think that's going to happen? People are set in their ways. They'll always remember me as the one who gets things done, not you playing festival planner. Jake's resolve wavered, but he pushed it down. He wouldn't let Rick see his faltering spirit. Might be time for them to have other options. You're right about one thing, though. This fight is just beginning. Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. He exchanged a glance with Mary, and they both knew they were in it together. Whatever Rick planned next, they would face it side by side. As Rick stomped out of the diner, Jake noticed the patrons' murmurs starting to simmer: doubt, curiosity, frustration, but mostly quiet excitement. Maybe he and Mary had sparked something more. "Let us organize a town meeting," Jake said, determination washing over him. "We can share our vision. Gather more support. This isn't just about us, it's about what this town can be." Mary's eyes sparkled with hope, her enthusiasm reigniting. "You're right. We'll rally the businesses, get their backing, and show everyone Rick doesn't own Maplewood. We can do this." But even as they planned, a thought hovered at the edge of Jake's mind. Was he really prepared for what Rick might unleash next? In the midst of their excitement, an icy feeling crept in. Right now, hope felt fragile, and shadows loomed closer. Just as they stood, brimming with ideas and dreams, the door creaked open again. A stranger walked in, an enigmatic figure with a sense of urgency in their pace. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine. Who were they? What new challenge would unravel now? Jake's heart raced as the stranger took a few confident strides into the diner. The buzz of conversation faded into a hush, every eye turning curiously toward this unexpected newcomer. The figure was tall, dressed in a worn leather jacket that somehow exuded an air of authority despite its casualness. Dark hair fell just above sharp, focused eyes that scanned the room, settling finally on Jake and Mary. "Are you Jake?" the stranger asked, his voice steady but laced with urgency. Jake felt a knot of unease coil in his stomach. "Yeah, that's me. Can I help you?" The stranger stepped closer, his eyes darting to the crowd before returning to Jake. "I need to talk to you. It's important, for the festival." The word hung in the air, charged with implication. Mary glanced at Jake, her intrigue evident. "What do you mean?" The stranger pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to Jake. "You might want to take a look at this. It's about Rick." Jake unfolded the paper, the handwriting hastily scrawled yet unnervingly precise. His eyes skimmed over the details, a list of Rick's questionable dealings, tiny hints of corrupt practices that could not only threaten the festival but the entire town's well-being. The words jumped off the page like red flags, and his heart pounded. Could Rick really be involved in something so sinister? "Who are you?" Jake asked, looking up to meet the stranger's gaze. "Mark," he replied, as though that was all the explanation needed. "I grew up in this town. Left a while ago but I'm back. I heard about what you're trying to do, and I thought you should know." Jake wrestled with the information flooding his mind. You can't just drop a bomb like this without proof. This could ruin someone's life. Mary leaned closer, her brow furrowed. But what if it's true? What if it changes everything? Jake's mind whirled. Could Rick's focus on power hide something this destructive? Why would Mark risk everything by bringing this to him? "Look," Mark said, his voice low but firm. "I understand how it sounds. But I'm telling you this is real. And if you want the festival to succeed, you need to prepare for a fight. Rick won't go down without one." The word settled in the pit of Jake's stomach. He thought of the townsfolk who had come to trust him, felt their hopes resting on his shoulders. This could fracture the community even further. "What do I do?" Jake whispered, unsure if he was ready for the burden now weighing down on him. Mark's expression softened, a hint of empathy breaking through his tough exterior. You rally the town. Share this. Get their backing. When they see the truth, and that you're standing up to Rick, they'll support you if they believe in what you're fighting for. Jake nodded slowly. This was a turn he hadn't anticipated. Everything was changing his plans, his fight. Just as he thought he was gaining ground, the stakes had escalated. Mary squeezed his hand, grounding him. Whatever it takes, we'll face it together. The diner felt electric with the weight of the new knowledge. A force larger than any of them was at play, and they were now a part of it. Just then, the door swung open again, this time with a force that echoed through the diner. Rick stormed back in, eyes blazing with fury. What is going on here? He demanded, locking his gaze on Jake and Mark. The confrontation hung in the air like a thunderstorm. Jake's heart raced, a mix of adrenaline and fear. Would he have the courage to reveal the truth, or would Rick's arrogance sweep them all away? The moment of reckoning was dawning, and Jake realized there was no turning back now. Rick's voice sliced through the thick tension like a knife. Every diner patron felt the weight of his fury. Jake's throat tightened. He had to act fast. Nothing going on, Jake replied, hoping to buy time. Just catching up with an old friend. Rick's gaze darted between Jake and Mark, his eyes narrowed, searching for cracks in their facades. Old friend, huh? You sure about that? This doesn't look like a casual chat to me. Mary stepped forward, her voice steady but laced with determination. We're discussing the festival, Rick, trying to make it better for everyone. No harm in that, right? But Rick's lips curled into a mocking grin. Better? You think you can do better than what I've planned? I've put years into this event, given it my all, and you're going to roll back progress with your little community ideas? Pathetic. Jake felt heat rising in his chest. His mind flashed to the paper clutched in his hand. You've used this festival for your own gain, Rick. You think we can just sit back and let you exploit everything and everyone? Look at what's happening. The town is crumbling. The air was electric, and for a moment, it seemed Rick would lash out. But instead, he took a step back, face darkening, feigning calm. You really don't know what you're asking for, do you? I can ruin you before you even get started. Mark shifted beside Jake, clenching his fists. You don't scare us, Rick. We know what you're up to. Rick's laughter rang hollow, striking fear deep in Jake's gut. You think you have the upper hand, but trust me, you're the least of my worries. If you go after me, you'll find just how high the stakes really are. A silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating, as patrons shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Each person held their breath, watching the confrontation unfold between the men bound by opposing forces. Jake glanced at Mark, whose jaw was set, resolve pooling in his dark eyes. It was a wake-up call. Jake couldn't back down now. Maybe the town deserves to know who they're really dealing with. It's not just about the festival, Rick. It's about our community. And we're not going to let you tear it apart, Jake declared, gripping the paper tighter. Rick's expression darkened further, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. You think you can rally the town against me? They need me. Maybe they need someone who cares, Mary countered fiercely. Someone who won't bend the rules for their own gain. They deserve better. She stepped forward, taking the fight out of Jake's hands, her own strength now surging into the room. Behind her, others began to nod, murmuring agreement, their faces lit with hope. Rick glared, his confidence wavering. You really want to make this personal? Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you. He turned sharply, storming out of the diner, the door slamming behind him, sending a jolt through everyone left inside. The air shifted, the anticipatory tension crackling like a live wire. Jake glanced around, and the realization struck him they were finally ready to fight back. The town needed to stand together, united against the looming threat. Let us make this fight together, so the truth can shine through. Will you join us? A chorus of affirmatives rose from the customers, who had silently witnessed it all. Hope filled the room, flickering like a flame reignited. Just as Jake began to breathe easier, assured that they had sparked something powerful, he felt a shadow fall over them. The door creaked open again, revealing a figure cloaked in mystery, eyes scanning the crowd. A familiar face, but one Jake hadn't seen in a long time. Did I miss the party? The stranger said, smirking, as a collective gasp echoed through the diner. Jake felt an ominous chill trickle down his spine. Whatever was about to happen next, he knew it was going to change everything. Jake felt the air around him crackle with anticipation, an electric charge that threaded through the diner. He turned to the newcomer, trying to place the face that seemed eerily familiar. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice steady despite the throbbing pulse of his heartbeat. But before the stranger could respond, Mary stepped in, her protective instincts flaring. "This isn't the time for surprises. We're dealing with enough as it is," she said, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. "Relax," the newcomer replied, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to cause trouble. My name is Ben, and I have a stake in this too." "Really?" Jake crossed his arms, skepticism threading through each word. "What do you mean by that?" Ben took a step forward, shaking off the air of mystery that surrounded him. "I grew up here, and I left a long time ago. But Maplewood has always been part of me. I heard about your plans and Rick's threats. I just want to help." Jake sensed sincerity behind Ben's fervor, yet doubt flickered in his mind. "How can we trust you?" "The same way we trust each other," Ben replied, shooting a quick glance around the diner, gauging the community's reactions. "If you really want to unite the town against Rick, you need all the voices you can get. And I'm ready to lend mine." Jake glanced at Mary, whose skepticism had softened into intrigue. "We'll listen," she said cautiously, her eyes fixed on Ben. "But you need to be straight with us. I can give you something Rick won't be expecting," Ben continued, confidence building in his voice. "The town is scared of him, but if we show them that unity is stronger than fear, we can make this work. We need to gather support quickly, capitalize on momentum before Rick digs in with his power." A collective murmur arose, hopes igniting with each word Ben spoke. As the air thickened with determination, Jake nodded, energized by the possibility of fighting back. "And what's your plan?" he asked, leaning in. "Rally the businesses, engage the community, use social media to draw more crowds. We can create excitement for the festival that Rick can't ignore. People once they feel the purpose they want to be involved," Ben articulated, his voice growing fervent. Jake took a deep breath, envisioning everything he had wanted for the festival. "We could start with a parade. Showcase local businesses, let the community's spirit shine," he exclaimed, excitement bubbling within him. "That's it. We can map out events leading directly to the festival," Mary added. "A sense of unity will drown out Rick's negativity." With the trio united, they began sketching plans, the diner transforming into a hub of ideas and enthusiasm. Patrons chipped in, each one adding a spark to the growing flame of hope, their voices blending into a chorus of ambition. But as the diner's energy surged, an unsettling thought slithered back into Jake's mind. Would Rick retaliate? Would he use his influence against them? "Whatever he tries, we stand together," Mary reiterated, her eyes bright with conviction. "If he thinks he can intimidate us by hiding in power, he's dead wrong." Just as their plans began to coalesce, the door swung open again. Rick re-entered, this time with firefighters. Town officials gathered behind him like a storm cloud promising thunder. "That's right, I'm not leaving without making my case," Rick announced, his voice a low growl. "Did you think you could just walk all over me and win the town over with your quaint little ideas? You're underestimating me." Jake stood tall, meeting Rick's gaze unflinchingly. "We're not afraid of you. Maybe it's time you learned that." The firefighters shifted, exchanging uneasy glances. Their presence brought authority, scrutiny hanging in the air, waiting to see how this confrontation would unfold. Rick stepped forward, chest puffed out, directing his ire at the firefighters. "You really want to put your faith in this kid? He's bent on bringing a failed festival to a town that has thrived because of tradition." The disdain in his voice ignited Jake's resolve. "We have the right to decide for ourselves what Maplewood stands for. Unity, progress, these aren't greedy ideals. They're what this town needs to move forward." One of the firefighters moved forward, a strong woman with stormy blue eyes. "If it means supporting our community and its voices, then you have our backing." Rick looked aghast, a sneer curling on his lips. "You're making a mistake. I'll make sure you regret this." "Maybe it's you who should start regretting, Rick," Ben shot back, stepping into the fray. "People like you can't hide behind fear forever." In that moment, Jake felt the tide shift. Those words hung in the air, a declaration of war against tyranny. Each person giving voice to what had been brewing inside them, standing firm in their newfound independence. They rallied around Jake, Mary, Ben, an unstoppable wave building with each pulse of conviction. Glimmers of knowledge twinkled in their eyes, the grip of fear loosening. Their shoulders straightened, hearts swelling, unified in one intention, to reclaim Maplewood as their own. And with that, Jake knew they were ready for the battle ahead. This tide of emotion and courage surged through him, obliterating every doubt within. Hope cast aside uncertainty, rising from the ashes of despair. As Rick turned, defiance radiating from him, Jake's voice rang out, cutting through the tainted atmosphere. "Maplewood is rising. You can't stop what's coming, Rick. We'll fight for each other and win." With a final look of determination exchanged among them, Jake saw it. This wasn't just about a festival anymore. This was about love, loyalty, and finally stepping into a future that belonged to all, a community united, reclaiming their identity. They were ready to transform Maplewood. And Jake, for the first time, felt entirely at home. But now, dear viewers, it's your turn to be part of this story. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the journey we've shared. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.